Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode here, Spads YouTube. My name is Spads, and today's travel guide is how to climb Mount Baloy. So if you're looking for a guide, recommendations, preparations, and then the detail of the trail, then this is the video for you. In this video, we are going to talk about the details of the San Agustin Trail, which part of the trail is difficult and which parts are not. We will discuss the view decks, the campsites, and most importantly, the highlights of Mount Baloy, which is mossy forest and then the monkey trail. And at the end of the video, I will be sharing to you my recommendations on how to prepare for Mount Baloy and what gears do you need in order to climb it. But before we proceed, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and follow my social media accounts. Hit the like and then share so you can help me and my channel grow. Let's go.
Bravo! Woo! Nice view. The best! Grabe yung trail. Yan yung trail.
Yeah, baby! Ang lahat ng bagay ay magkaugnay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and discuss the details of the trails for Mount Baloy. Now, there are two ways how to climb Mount Baloy within the San Agustin Trail. One is a day hike, which takes you about 3 days to climb Mount Baloy. And the other option is a 4 days hike, which will bring you camping on the last site of Mount Baloy. We will discuss all the details of that at the end of the video, but for now, we will focus on the option 1, which is the day hike option. That's the route that we took. I will explain later on what are the pros and cons between the two, but right now, let's go ahead and focus on the day hike. So I've made this Google Earth map, which details all the highlighted areas for Mount Baloy. That includes camps, and parts of the trails that are difficult and easy. If you want to take hold of that image, I'm gonna go ahead and put a link in the description. You can download it from there. It's completely free. So let's go ahead and dive in on the map. Okay, so for the rest of you who don't know, this is where Mount Baloy is located. It's in the heart of the Panay Island. This is the Panay Island here. And it sits on the mountain range of Antique Province. Near that area are the Panay Trilogy, which are Mount Langtod, which is just located above it, and then the highest of the three, which is Mount Majas. Just to give you a visual idea on where those mountains are located and where Mount Baloy is. Okay, so to get to Mount Baloy, you will need to have access to the nearest municipality, which is Valderrama Antique. Valderrama is located in this area right here. Valderrama is where you're gonna get all the permits before you climb Mount Baloy. And the best person to contact for that is Ben Pagayunan. You can check his Facebook link. I'm gonna put it in the description. So check him out, check all the details. Now let me go ahead and show you the barangays that we're gonna pass by that are significant for the trail. We have the Barangay Lublob right here, and then Barangay San Agustin. Now you already know why we call it San Agustin Trail. It's because that in Barangay San Agustin, that is where our jump off or our start area to trek going into base camp or the camp 1. Now I just want to mention that there are two ways or two trails under the Antique Province. So the first one is the San Agustin Trail, which starts off from Barangay San Agustin. The other one is the Busog Trail, which starts off from Barangay Busog. And let me go ahead and show to you where Barangay Busog is. Here is Barangay Busog. Now you already know visually which one is the most nearest to Mount Baloy. Day 1, we actually met in the City Hall of Valderrama, specifically in front of the tourism office, because 1, we have to sign our waivers, and at the same time we actually have to log into the PNP station and the MDMRC. So those are the 3 areas where you need to log or sign first before you are allowed to begin the event. From Valderrama, you will have to travel by truck, crossing their main river, which is the Valderrama River, going to Barangay Lublob. Now, Barangay Lublob is the last barangay that can be reached by 4-wheeled vehicles. You have 2 options. It's either that you can ride the habal-habal going to Barangay Lublob, or you can ride a truck or a 4-wheeled vehicle going to Barangay Lublob. But in our case, they opted to cram us into a truck going to Barangay Lublob. If you haven't experienced riding from the back of the truck, this is the best one for you. So the way to Barangay Lublob is something like this. You'll have to cross the main river of the Valderrama, going into several towns, going up to a small elevation, and then going down. Now, what are my recommendations? If this is your first time on riding at the back of the truck, I will suggest that you do not sit on the back part of the truck, because that's the most difficult area to ride the truck. What I would recommend is you go as much as possible near the front or the head of the truck, because it's easier to balance on the front and it's easier to grip on the bars whenever the truck is going up or going down. You can check out my travel vlog, which details all of the experience that we have from start to finish. I'm gonna put the link in the description. Now, from Barangay Lublob, you will dismount the truck and then you will make your way to the last barangay, which is San Agustin. Now you have two options on how to travel to San Agustin. One is to hike, which will take you at around 45 to 1 hour. And then the other one is through habal-habal, which will take you around 15 to 20 minutes to reach Barangay San Agustin. Now, that's a no-brainer. You have to take the habal-habal, right? But before you take the habal-habal, there is actually a downside to that. Let me go ahead and show to you the trail going to Barangay San Agustin. So this is the trail going to Barangay San Agustin. You will have to trek through rice fields, near rivers, and finally going up into the hillside, which is actually a cliff. Then making your way down, still a cliff, going into rice terraces right here, and then finally going into Barangay San Agustin. At first, I was determined to actually walk or hike all the way to San Agustin because I wanted to enjoy the view of the mountains, the river, and the, of what the trail can give me. Now, the only problem is during that time, it's around 11 a.m. and the sun is quite high and it's very hot during that time. I don't know if it's around 30 to 34 degrees, 32 degrees during that time. If you're hiking during those hot temperatures, your energy depletes more faster. So halfway of the trail, I actually gave up and we decided to ride the habal-habal na lang. But I didn't know that the road going to San Agustin is that scary. I wouldn't have taken the habal-habal during that time. The road going to San Agustin is only capable of handling one motorcycle or one habal-habal at a time. And most often, there are two habal-habals on the opposite sides or opposite way. So one of them have to give way to the other. And on top of that, you will be traversing through cliffs on the right side, which are sheer drops. And at the same time, you will have to balance yourselves on a small footwalk, half of a meter wide road, which only one motorcycle can fit. If you're planning to do a habal-habal or a motorcycle and you don't have any experience of riding a motorcycle as a back rider, or you have fear of heights, then I would suggest you just hike all the way to San Agustin. You can either hire a habal-habal to carry your backpack for you and then drive it all the way to San Agustin. Then they can just put it there and then you can just pick it up once you arrive to the village. Okay, so once you arrive at San Agustin, you will have lunch there and then you will have to prepare for your river trek going to base camp. Now, base camp is actually located right here, and the trail going to base camp is right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and compare that to Barangay Busog. Look at the length of the trail going to base camp from San Agustin Barangay. It's much more shorter. Okay, so what about the river crossing? The river crossing during this time, since it's dry season, the water is not that high, but there are areas of the river crossing which are at a waist deep. So make sure that you pick your route when you are crossing the rivers. It's more shallow. On top of the river crossing, you'll also have boulder crossings on that part, as well as a couple of rock climbing on the cliff, but a short one. So make sure that you prepare for that. I would recommend wearing sandals during the river crossing. That way, you won't deal with wet shoes on the next day when you're going to summit. Okay, the only problem is with river crossings, make sure that you don't injure your foot doing the river crossing on day one. You have a bigger chance of summiting Mount Baloy the next day. This is base camp right here. Base camp or camp 1 is actually located just by the river. The cooking team is near the river or near the water, and all the tents and camp are on the sides. Now, Since this area is still in low altitude, the downside for this is that it's still hot during the nighttime. The only good thing is that on the campsite, water source is unlimited. You can just get the water right out of the river. One thing that I would recommend when you are on this campsite is that to make sure that the tent that you're gonna get or you're gonna bring have enough ventilation, or another option is to do hammock camping. The other good thing about the campsite is that you can go ahead and swim while they are preparing the food. It's actually a good idea to swim during that time while they are preparing the food, because one, that will cool down your body after a 2-hour trek, and at the same time it will prepare you to rest for the night. Okay, so for the next day, our call time is around 1 a.m. We are scheduled to do the summit or start the summit hike to Mount Baloy at around 2 a.m. The hours that you need to take in order to summit Mount Baloy, just to summit, going up, is around 10 hours. So the projected time that we need to target in order for us to be in the time frame is to summit Mount Baloy at around 10 or 11 a.m. So that's our target. And then once that's done, going down is a different matter. Going down from the summit to the campsite actually takes you at around 6 hours. So we went down to the campsite from the summit at around 9 p.m. already. So that's around 19 hours of hiking. So make sure that you keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and check on the trails. The first phase is climbing this steep mountain just next to the base camp up into Camp 2. This is Camp 2 right here. This is actually an emergency camp for those solo hikers or DIY. I just want to put it here so that you have a visual reference. So Camp 1, if you can see, this is a red marked trail. I marked that red because that is a difficult trail. This is difficult because you have to crawl in all fours, or you have to use your hands to crawl up. It's close at a 45 degrees angle of going up. So that's how hard it is from the start. So from the campsite, you will have to go up right here. Okay, let me just go ahead and rotate this. Going up, that's a 45-degree angle going here. And then once that's done, you can rest for around 5 minutes. And then you will have to assault again. Going up, same thing, 45 degrees angle. Using your hands and your feet to go up all the way into this flat area right here. Now, how long did it take us to reach this area? From 2 a.m., we actually reached this area at around 4 a.m. It was actually raining already during this time. This area right here that we reached, this is a view deck. So if you happen to pass by on this area with daylight, I think this is a good area to fly the drone because you can see all the valleys and the mountain range that are surrounding Camp 1. Okay, so in this area right here, the trail is quite easy going all the way into the foot of the forest. Now, this mountain right here, they call this Baloy Gamay. So when you're climbing Mount Baloy, you're climbing 2 mountains. Once you get to this area, the trail actually changes. It becomes a difficult trail going up. Now, if you can see, there is a clearing on the side right here. For me, this is a view deck. I call this Mount Baloy Gamay view deck because in this area, when you go out from the thick forest, you will be greeted by a great view or an awesome view, which shows you the left side of Mount Baloy. This is what you will see. Now, during this time, I don't know, or I forgot the time. It's around 7 or 8. We actually stopped and then ate breakfast in this area. This is the first reward that we got on the trail, which is an amazing view. After we ate breakfast, we started to trek again. You'll get a short, easy trail on this area. And then from there, it's another difficult trail going up to the summit of Mount Baloy Gamay. So after this ascent, you will be given a easy trail. Now this trail right here, all the way up into this area, this is separated in two areas. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you later. But in this area right here of Mount Baloy Gamay, which is the summit, this is a glimpse of what Mount Baloy Dako summit is. You will be greeted with small portions of a mossy forest. It will be a rolling trail, meaning if it's an up and down trail, you'll come across big old trees as well. So make sure that you watch out for that and have pictures on them. You'll also see a slight change on the vegetation and then the insects that are roaming on the bark of the tree or the branches of the leaves. So make sure that you keep that in mind and watch out for that. During this area, since this is really high up, I think it's around 800 to 1,000 meters above sea level already. The whole area of this, the green trail, the whole area is fogging during the early morning. So there is no clearing always in the early morning. So there is always fog in this area. During our hike, I've clocked in at around 20 degrees Celsius for the ambient temperature. So that's really cold. But I didn't feel it since I was sweating a lot during the climb. So I didn't need any jackets during that time. The only time that I wore a jacket was when we were eating breakfast on the view deck. Once you crossed the dense forest of Baloy Gamay, there is a clearing after the peak or the summit of Mount Baloy Gamay. There is a clearing and a knife edge, which you can see right here, all the way onto the other side or to the foot of Mount Baloy Dako. This is what they call the Bitas view deck. This is really a knife edge ridge. The wind is very strong on this area because the wind from the other side, from here, is transferring over to the other side of the mountain. If you can see, the right side of the mountain is more of a barren or a cleared area, which doesn't have any trees on the right side compared to the other side. It's because the wind is constantly blowing on this area right here. When we went back going down, when we were descending and this area cleared up, you can see the fog rising from the lower end passing by into the Bitas view deck. Now, Bitas view deck, this is a good place to fly the drone because you can see the height of the mountain and you can see the very bottom of the mountain right here. I didn't get to fly the drone. I was actually hurrying up to cross this area and then climb Mount Baloy Gamay already so that I won't have to, endure my fear of heights during this time. But on Vita's view deck, there are actually highlights on this area. So you have the pitcher plants and at the same time you have a panoramic view of the province of Iloilo or the part of the province of Iloilo. On the right, you can see the trail of the Busog or the Busog Trail right there on the bottom. You can see. Okay? And on the other side, on the left of the mountain, you can see the left side mountain ranges of the mountain. So it's really cool. I hope that I can camp in this area in the future so that I can experience what it looks like during sunset. Ang ganda ata ng sunset dito kasi super panoramic view with the mountain ranges of the whole of Valderrama. Now in this area, it's not all knife edge. In the middle, there is a thick forest that you need to go through for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then it will open up again before you reach the end of the easy trail. Now from here, going up into the summit, it's all hard trails. This is where the monkey trail will start. Okay, but before we go to the summit, we will have to drop by to Camp 3, which is Ransu di Pari. Camp 3 is where you're gonna refill your water, because there's a water source here at Ransu di Pari, but it's not that clean. It's drinkable, but you know what I mean. In our climb, we actually ate lunch in this area. We arrived in this area at around 11:30 a.m., which we are the last one, or we are the sweepers team. So 11:30 a.m. we had lunch, and then we started our way going up the summit. Now from Camp 3 going up into the summit, it's around 2 hours for casual climbers. If you're an expert, if you're fast, you can summit it for less than 2 hours, but the standard time is 2 hours. Actually, it took us around an hour and a half to climb the summit. Now from here, from Camp 3, you will make your way onto the top, and in the middle, this is where the dense roots and vines will greet you. This is the climax of the Monkey Trail. You can check the vlog that I have detailing the Monkey Trail on this one. Okay, so it's all Monkey Trail, starting from the half of this trail from the campsite going up into this area right here. Once you reach this area, you will come across the mossy forest of Mount Baloy. From there, it's just a easy path going to the summit, where the plate and the tree, or the famous tree, is there. Now, it's not a straight, easy path, so make sure that you take this as a grain of salt. It's actually a maze of old and mossy trees that you need to navigate going to the summit. That's what the San Agustin Trail looks like. So one thing to note is the leeches on this area. Even in dry season or in summer, we actually hike this mountain during Holy Week, which is always the hottest week in the Philippines the whole year. There are still leeches in the area, or what we call limatok or limatic, whatever you call it. Leeches will start to appear on this area right here at the summit of Mount Baloy, Gamay. So leeches will start from there going up into Mount Baloy, Dako. So it's important that you wear long sleeves and leggings to protect your skin. At the same time, if you have neck gaiters, wear them so you can protect your neck. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are two options for you to summit Mount Baloy if you are taking the San Agustin Trail. One is the route that we took, which is a day hike, 1 day hike. The other option is a 4 days climb. First day is you're gonna go to the campsite. Second day is you're gonna hike full pack going to Camp 3. Now imagine that if you have a full pack with you at around 10 kilos to 13 kilos and everything, including water, you'll have to endure all this assault or difficult trail going into Camp 3. Okay, so that's your second day. Your third day will be light pack, or just bring water, go to summit early in the morning, and then go back to the campsite, break camp, and then hike down to base camp or Camp 1, where you're gonna spend another night. And then on your fourth day, the next day, you will river cross back to San Agustin and back to Valderrama. So those are two options that they offer on the San Agustin Trail. Now you know what are the options to summit the mountain. Now for me, what I recommend is, if you are an expert and you're not a content creator like me, that you need to document every view and everything, go and day hike Mount Baloy. It takes a lot of hours, but it takes less days to summit. Okay, but if you're a content creator and want to experience camping near the summit of Mount Baloy, take the 4 days hike. That way you can camp at Camp 3, and at the same time you can go back to Bita's view deck and experience sunset on that area. Okay, so those are my recommendations for the San Agustin Trail. Now you know the in and outs of the trail, difficult and then easy trails, the view decks, the campsites and everything. Now it's time to prepare for the summit. And here is my recommendation for the gears that you're going to use. For the gears, make sure that you have proper trail shoes with gaiters. I'm using a Merrell Agility Peak 5 for my trail shoes, which I recently reviewed and which I actually bought solely for this hike for Mount Baloy. So check that out, check my review. I'm gonna do a follow-up review of that after the hike, meaning coming couple of days. And then gaiters. I cannot stress enough how important gaiters is when you are hiking this type of difficulty. I didn't have any problems for debris, rocks, sand, branches, or leeches going into my shoes because of the gaiters. So I would recommend you to buy gaiters on top of your shoes. Check it out. It's in the Shopee. It's around 300 to 600 pesos. Trail running gaiters is what I use. I would also recommend long sleeves and leggings for tall grasses, overgrown roots, vines, and leeches. Next on the list are gloves. Gloves are mainly for monkey trails, but you can actually use it from the start of the trek because you will have to use your hands on the steep areas of the mountain and you can protect your hand from leeches. So that's what it's for. Since Mount Baloy has its own weather or a microclimate, so it might be raining on higher altitudes compared to the base camp. So I would suggest you bring in jackets. That comes in handy when you are stopping and resting and the wind is blowing at the same time the fog is coming. So that's really cold when you're stopping and resting. But you don't actually need the jacket when you are moving or hiking along the trail. The only time that I used the jacket was when we were eating lunch, snacks, and taking a rest. So I didn't actually use it all the time. Now on top of the jacket, make sure that you have emergency blanket. That's a thin foil that you can buy for around 120 pesos at Shopee. That actually helps your body from insulating itself, body heat. And at the same time, make sure that you have a poncho jacket or a jacket when it rains so that you don't get wet. Now, there is a combination of a poncho and a emergency jacket that I actually bought. You can use that instead of the jacket, which you can also use when it rains. You can use it when the temperature drops. I'm gonna put the link in the description. That comes in handy. If you're gonna do a day hike on Mount Baloy or any high altitude mountains, you can use that as an emergency jacket and at the same time as a raincoat or a rain jacket. Next on the list, make sure that you waterproof your bag going up into the summit, just to prevent your things from soaking wet when it's gonna rain. I actually have cameras and drones in my bag during that time, and I actually have a trash bag that I put all the things inside and then I put it on the back just to make sure that I waterproof my things. So make sure that you do that. Next is sandals. Sandals, it's what you actually use to wear during the river crossings. So that's what the sandals are for. Now let's go ahead and proceed to preparation. For preparation, at least climb minor mountains with elevation of at least 1,000 meters above sea level before you climb Mount Baloy. Do not attempt Mount Baloy as a mother mountain or your first mountain. Don't do that. Make sure that you have experience with trail classes from 1 to 3. If you don't know what trail class is, it's a designation of difficulty of trails by class. 1, which is easiest, and 5, which is the hardest. Even though it has a difficulty of 9 out of 9, its trail class so far in my experience is 1, 2, 3. If you are in Panay Island, there are a couple of mountain ranges that you can practice on. One is the Valderrama trilogy. It will expose you to different types of trail or different class of trails, especially knife edge ridges and then 45 degrees climbs where you'll need to use your hands to grip on the trail. And the other one is the Igbaras and Tubungan 7 Mountains. It's a group of mountains composed in the area of Igbaras and then Tubungan. You can start from there. It will expose you to all the trail class so that you will be prepared when you climb Mount Baloy. In preparation, let's go ahead and talk about food or snacks and water during the summit. For your water, I would suggest to at least bring 3 liters of water during the hike. It's a more than 12 hours of hike, so you need adequate water to hydrate yourself. I actually brought in 5 liters of water with me during the hike because I sweat a lot, so I need to replenish that water. So 3 liters is a minimum to bring when you summit Mount Baloy. You can use a water bladder. Water bladder is the most convenient way to bring water going up. I have 2 water bladders when I summited Mount Baloy. One is a 2 liter, one is a 3 liter. For the snacks, I actually brought in 4 energy gels during the hike, and it helped me a lot during those difficult assaults, those nearly 90 degrees trails going up. So it helped me a lot when I felt that I don't have enough energy. I would recommend you put in electrolyte tablets that you drop on your drink or in your water so that you get enough electrolytes in your body to replace sweat or water, and at the same time energizes your body when you are trailing. So make sure that you have that. At the same time, on your snacks, that depends on you, on what your preferred snacks during the trail. I would recommend bringing one since you are only given a breakfast and lunch on the day hike. In between that, you would need snacks during the rest to replenish and get a lot of energy during the hike. So the one that I got is Bongbong's Piyaya. It doesn't spoil. Even if you open it up, you can do multiple hikes or multiple days with the Piyaya. It doesn't get bad. So I have that. 4 pieces is enough for the day, but I would recommend bringing 4 pieces of Piyaya during the hike because Mount Baloy is a really long hike. I finished it going to the summit, going down to the camp for about 19 hours. So if you're like me and you're a slow hiker, make sure that you bring in enough food. Based on other hikers from our group that have been to Busog Trail, San Agustin Trail is a much more scenic route compared to Busog Trail. I actually like San Agustin Trail because it has a lot of view decks, which will reward the difficulty of the trail when you are in the view deck. It re-energizes you to keep going on the trail. So that's it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and then follow my social media accounts. Hit the bell button so that you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. Ride safe, travel more. I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye.